Great, thank you very much. Another round of applause, that was marvelous. Thank you so much. So I'm going to start with you, Mr. President, and then Madam Secretary, you'll be up next. So, Mr. President, you have a very ambitious economic agenda, which you highlighted a number of elements of. You're looking for job growth, economic growth. Can you give us some insights if you had only 3 or 4 priorities for economic development and growth? You mentioned a number, but what would be your top 4 priorities that you think is unique in some ways to Kenya's competitive advantage?
Thank you very much, Ambassador. The 3 primary spaces where we believe we have a competitive, maybe even comparative advantage is in agriculture. There is huge space in agro-processing, enhancing Kenya's productivity. We already are exporting quite a bit, not just to Europe and other destinations, but also to America. That is a space that we believe there is potential, there is opportunity, and we can expand that space. Number 2, we have space in human development. We believe there is huge opportunity of building our human and deploying our excellent human capital globally to serve, to work, and to extend opportunities globally. We have real opportunity in green energy. If there is one space we are very proud of as a country, is the space around sustainability. Any investment, any business, any enterprise that is not thinking sustainability has some homework to do. Because the future is about how we can do it sustainably. And therefore, renewable energy occupies a very central place in how we can do business into the future. And lastly, is the digital space. Every space is tech today. And that is why we believe that technology, the digital space, will help Kenya, will help our region leapfrog the many challenges that we have. We can deliver government services much more efficiently. We can deliver commerce much more efficiently. We can create tremendous opportunity in that space, and we can overcome many hurdles and many challenges using technology. So these are the areas we are focused on, and we believe that there is scope for us as Kenya and our region to work with the U.S. in these spaces.
Thank you. I have heard you say that every business is a tech business, even agriculture, and I know you were the Secretary of Agriculture. All right, Madam Secretary. I always call her Gina because she's actually a friend, but Madam Secretary, this is your first trip to Kenya and indeed Africa as Secretary. And given the back-to-back engagements, there may be one person I've met who works harder than I do, and that's Gina. But you've had a wide variety of stakeholder meetings over the past couple of days, and I'd like to start by asking you if you could just give us some initial thoughts on the assessment of your trip, impressions of Kenya, and just some of the insights that you've had.
Yeah, I love it. I've had a fantastic 2 days, action-packed. When President came to the U.S. for the U.S. Leaders Conference, you said there were glaring opportunities for win-wins between the U.S. and Kenya. And I see that clearly with my own eyes on the ground here. Yesterday, I met with a group of female tech executives and entrepreneurs, some from U.S. multinational companies, Microsoft and IBM, some from homegrown companies, M-Pesa. I met with a number of other Kenyan entrepreneurs. And what was clear to me is that by the United States investing more in Kenya, providing digital skills to people in Kenya, we win for sure because it draws us closer and it's more economic opportunity. But of course, Kenya wins. As you just said, it's a young country. So to provide opportunity for the youth, they need skills, they need jobs, they need broadband, they have to be connected. And so I guess last night at the dinner, somebody said to me, do you like the vibe in Kenya? So, so I love the vibe. And I'm excited to, you know, really lean into it and really, quite frankly, Mr. President, show you off a little bit when you come in May for the state visit. Because, yeah, because the president will be the first African leader hosted by an American president in a long time. It's a historic opportunity.
Since 2008.
Since 2008. And I can't wait to expose you to more U.S. private sector, Congress, et cetera, because I think you'll blow their socks off and really open their eyes to all there is here, opportunity in Kenya.
Great, thank you very much. Back to you, Mr. President. You have emerged as one of the great advocates of trying to solve the climate crisis and its impact on all of Africa, not just Kenya. And you launched something at COP28 called Africa's Green Industrial Initiative. And I'd love it if you could tell the audience a little bit about that initiative, how you feel it's going, what the big opportunities are, and maybe what American investors can do to accelerate that most important initiative.
The context of the Africa Green Industrial Initiative is that for a very long time, the narrative around our continent was about trouble, war, conflict, disease, poverty, which was not a correct narrative. And therefore, as leaders in this continent, we made a deliberate decision that though we bear the brunt of climate change with floods, with famine, and all the things that come with it, but it was time to reposition this continent as what it is, a continent of opportunity, tremendous potential, investment opportunity, and renewable energy is one space where we have 60% of the world's renewable energy assets. And therefore, it became necessary for us to use our assets, renewable energy. We have 30%, close to 40% of the world's mineral resources assets, including those that are necessary for energy transition. We have 60% of the world's arable, uncultivated land that can help in sorting out global food security. We have the youngest population. So we have real assets that we can deploy, and that's why we decided it is time to present our continent as a continent of opportunity, and the first phase is in green industrialization. It will not only help decarbonize our continent, it will also help decarbonize the globe. So we're not just providing solutions to African problems, we are also providing solutions to global challenges. And therefore, this Green Africa industrialization is about data centers, green data centers, green steel, smart agriculture. This is the space that we are providing, and we've worked collaboratively with different countries. We will be having a conversation on Sunday and Monday here in Nairobi with the World Bank so that we can lay priorities in this space for investment and get resources to drive our own development. So the green industrialization space is about using African assets in renewable energy, in mineral resources, in agricultural potential, and using them to drive African growth, but in a sustainable manner.
Just to follow up on that, what do you think, because you launched this at COP28, so it's not been that long, but what do you think the biggest hurdle is towards achieving your vision for the Africa Green Industrialization Initiative? Is it financial investment in the continent? What are the biggest challenges, do you think, about implementing that initiative? This is for you. Oh, sorry, this was you.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Oh, that's okay. I think you probably, I was just doing a quick follow-up,
yes.
Which is, what do you think the biggest challenges are to realizing that vision? You've only been at it for 8 months, since really COP28, but what is, as you've gone along, what have been the biggest challenges to really launching this Africa Green Industrialization Initiative?
The biggest challenge, and that's why I was explaining to you why we have this meeting with the World Bank on Sunday. The biggest challenge is twofold.
Financing?
Yes. The biggest challenge is financing. Because you have opportunity. How do you transit opportunity to investment? So you need both resources from the public, but also you need to mobilize private sector resources. Let me give you an example. We are in the process of concluding this conversation between Microsoft, Kenya, and the UAE on investment in the data center. You need technology, and we are very grateful that America has the best technology. You need investment, and that's why we are working with our friends from the UAE. And you need green energy, and that's why you have Kenya in the equation. So this kind of collaboration that brings together the resource in green energy, technology in what we can find from the US, and investment capital. So we need to get everything together. Technology is going to help us a great deal, and that is why American companies who are here, my sister Gina is here, we as Kenya and our continent are depending on America to work with us and to deploy their cutting-edge technology, including AI, to unlock the tremendous potential of the assets we have in our continent. We think that collaboration will easily mobilize resources. Once you have the right technology and you have the correct assets, it is easy to bring on board capital. And that is the collaboration that has been lacking.
Thank you for that. Okay, back to you, Gina. So you're here this week with a very sizable U.S. government and private sector delegation, including members of President Biden's Advisory Council on Doing Business in Africa, and a delegation of executives with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. What does this tell us about the breadth and the depth of the U.S. Kenya, U.S. Africa relationship? And what have some of the insights that they have had? I think the President and I have talked about the narrative on Africa being 20 years old. Yeah. He referenced it. And now that you're here, you see the dynamism, you see the opportunity, you see the youth. I'd be interested to know what it means in terms of the government about the delegation that you brought and what your ahas are about the narrative.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So, the relationship isn't new. 60 years of diplomatic relations and close relationships. The President has said we have shared values, strong democracies, there's a lot of reasons we're close. But I think, candidly, on account of your leadership and on account of President Biden's leadership, I think after the 2022 African Leaders Summit at the end of 2022, we've entered a new era of deeper integration. And it's coming at the perfect time because, as the President has said, Kenya is just really on the move. Talent, green energy, Silicon Savannah, good leadership. So it's a perfect time for us to enter this new era of deeper collaboration. And I think the companies see that. So of the 14 companies I brought with me, many have been doing business here for a long time. Cisco, Microsoft, MasterCard, they're no strangers to Kenya, but yet they're doubling down. Yeah. That's what we are hearing. And then we have new companies. Bayless is making a new investment. MBA is deepening. Pfizer. So what I have heard, and venture capitalists, we had a lunch yesterday with venture capitalists. Really, all the venture capitalists who are here are happy, right? They see the opportunity. They say there's a culture in Kenya where people aren't afraid to take risk and fail. So my job, our job, the three of us here, we have a job, which is to tell the story more back home. Yep. Let Silicon Valley know what is here. Let Wall Street know what is here. Let U.S. multilaterals know what is here. More exchange programs. you know, take more Kenyans to America to learn to come back. So I guess I'm just excited. You have the resources, you have the leadership, and also, last thing I'll say is you have, in terms of the green energy, the digital data center you just mentioned is a perfect example of what you call the win-win. It's a win-win-win. Yep. Every American company who is building a new data center, and they are exploding because of AI, wants green energy and talent. So I think it's a moment, and we have to execute.
Yeah, and I think you can be, I'm so happy you're here, because I think you can be an ongoing advocate for the continent. Once you see it, you know it. And so we're super excited that you're here. Round of applause for Gina for getting on a plane, flying 25 hours for 2 days on the ground. So, Mr. President, you talked about a little bit about this in your speech, about your visit down to Athi River and to see the tremendous burgeoning of the apparel sector there. But you also saw 3,500 young Kenyans working for Hela. So tell me a little bit about what you thought about that, what the opportunity is for youth to gain skills and experience in the apparel business, and maybe talk a little bit about your vision for the vertical integration into BT cotton and other upstream sectors.
Undoubtedly, the space around apparel is a virgin, allow me to use that word, virgin space. There is huge scope. And it is the reason why we are expanding the space in our special economic zones. We have at the river, we now have another 5, actually 6, that we are developing to provide additional space for companies that will want to invest in our special economic zones, including the apparel companies. That is good space because it is labor intensive. So it's good for us because we have a huge labor force that can fit in that space. So it provides jobs for us. It is good space in terms of providing job opportunities, but it also speaks to what we think as a government should be the value chain integration. Last year, 2022, we had 8,000 acres of land planting cotton. Last year, we did 40,000 acres. This year, we are doing 110,000 acres, and our focus for next year is 200,000 acres, so that we can provide the cotton for garments that will go into our special economic zones, so that we don't have to import fabric from other quarters. Fabric can be found right here in Kenya. It will speak a lot to incomes to our farmers. It will speak a lot to our revenues in terms of tax. It will also speak tremendously to job opportunities created. So the apparel space is premium space for us. And we are not only thinking about how to make it work better, we are even considering how do we work with the power tariffs to make it much more easier for our investors in that zone to be able to produce much more competitively. That is the space we are working on, and that is the reason why we keep engaging with that sector.
I am really excited about the vertical integration into cotton. We have Governor Gladys Wanga here from Homa Bay, who is leading the charge, frankly, on bringing back cotton as a major crop here. Okay, we're coming to the closing minutes here, but Gina, with all the various capabilities of the Commerce Department, which I don't think I really understood even until you came, what are some of your key tools that you can deploy with African countries like Kenya? Tell the audience a little bit about what the Commerce Department does to really further trade between the U.S. and Kenya and back the other way.
Yeah, thank you. It is a broad set of responsibilities, as you say. Everything from AI, so we're just standing up now the U.S. AI Safety Institute, and in fact, while I'm here, we announced a new partnership as between Kenya and the U.S. around AI. I think there's huge opportunities to collaborate there, to create jobs, but also set the standards of, rules of the road around our shared values. I think it's very important. We also, we've talked about AGOA. Although I'm not the trade rep, it's certainly President Biden's priority, and we would like to support that to make sure that Congress renews AGOA. One of the things under my authority is the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. Protecting IP, so important. So we look forward to providing more assistance to the government, but to companies and entrepreneurs, so you know how to protect IP and value the protection of IP. But also, you know, I would say my top priority is just getting U.S. private sector to invest in Kenya. You know, that is the number one thing. You know, right now, for example, when I think of venture capital, and I was in the venture capital business, so I know a little bit about it, it's amazing how you're the top destination in Africa by dollar and per capita for U.S. venture capital. That's not by accident. They like to be here. They make money here. They do well here. So
people like to live in Kenya, too.
And people like to live in Kenya. So, like, my job is like, let's do more. Let's just, if I could just expose the benefits here, this time we have 14 companies, bring more companies, more investment, that would be, you know, my top priority.
All right, Mr. President, last question. So you've done a tremendous amount, at least since I've been here, to improve the business climate. You mentioned the 9 initiatives that you announced at last year's summit. And those were mostly focused on tech, because Silicon Savannah was such an important part of the economy. But you've talked to me about the blue economy. You've talked to me about electric vehicles. You've talked to me about mining. Just say a couple of words about those sectors, and maybe about tourism, which of course is 10% of the GDP, and then we'll wrap it up.
Thank you very much, and let me congratulate my sister for coming. I mean, the mere coming of Gina to Kenya is a huge stamp of approval that this partnership is mutual. And we don't take that for granted. And I am very happy that you have recruited her to join you in believing in Kenya. But we have scope. And let me say just 4 things before I answer your question or speak to the matter you have asked me. Number 1, to the American companies who are here, to investors who are here from different parts of the world, we believe that we have a value proposition that Kenya can make to you and your enterprises. Number 1, we have great talent here. We have a real good human capital. Whatever you want, if you want a good engineer, it doesn't take long to train them. A good financial person, somebody who can, different skills. And we are very keen on getting the standard of our education to the right level so that you can access our human capital and use their talent to grow your business. Number 2, we are a very tech-savvy country. So technology will help accelerate what you can do in your companies and Kenyans and the Kenyan ecosystem. We are consistently building on making sure that across the country we have fiber optic, we have access to digital space for e-commerce and for everything in between. Number 3, renewable energy is a very big. Many of companies who have ECG programs, they would want to decarbonize their enterprises. You have an opportunity to decarbonize some of your investments in other parts of the world by investing in Kenya and using our renewable energy. There is great proposition there. And finally, we are consistently working on improving the business environment. In fact, one leading agency positioned Kenya as the best investment destination in 2024. Maybe possibly that's why you guys are here. So I think that counts for something. And then finally, we are a democratic country. The president seated here doesn't have absolute power. You don't have to be my friend to do business in Kenya. You just have to follow the rules. We have working systems. We have a working judiciary. We believe in the rule of law. We protect people's business. And that is important for any business person to know, that nobody will wake up one morning arbitrarily and do stuff that they don't like. So we protect people's investments. We believe in the same values as our good friends in America do, and that shared value makes us friends and makes us people who we can collaborate. Speaking to the space of mining, mining is a sleeping giant in Kenya. There is tremendous opportunity. We have just lifted a moratorium that had been put on mining. We have set the rules. We have put in place the regulations, and we are ready to go. So if there is any person in the space of mining, you have an opportunity in Kenya. And we have huge assets, from cobalt to rare earth to many other important minerals. On blue economy, at the moment, the potential there is 120 billion Kenya shillings every year. We are only doing a fifth. So there is opportunity in that space. We are doing 20 billion at the moment. We can do 120 billion. There is space in the blue economy. There is space in the marine ecosystem. Again, we can work with American companies or other private sector actors in that space. We have set the rules. We have put the investment environment in the right place, and there is opportunity there. And of course, tourism. It is rare to go to a place where, as you speak, the gods are giving you endorsement through rain. And if you wanted a witness, Gina is here. So Kenya is the cradle of humanity. The earliest remains of man in the world are found in Kenya. That is why you hear Ambassador here saying people like to live in Kenya, because Kenya is home to everybody. Yes, that's what it is. And it's not me saying, it is science saying that Kenya is the home of humanity. So we have a great tourist product, from the wildebeest migration in our national parks to our sandy beaches. And of course, we have made it easier for you to travel to Kenya. Today, you don't need a visa to come to Kenya. Just need to fill a small form. It takes about 7 minutes, and you will have the authorization to come to Kenya. So please, those of you who are listening to me from different parts of the world, you're welcome home to Kenya.
Thank you. Well, please give the President of the Republic of Kenya, William Ruto, a round of applause. Secretary of Commerce, Gina Raimondo, a round of applause. Thank you both very much. Thanks an awful lot. Great job. Thank you very much. All right.